Dan Quinn unveiled on Monday that the Washington Commanders are holding another joint practice leading up to the team's second preseason game. That and more right now on Locked On Commanders.
You are Locked On Commanders, your daily podcast on the Washington Commanders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This is Locked On Commanders. I am David Harrison, your guy on the ground covering the Washington Commanders for WUSA 9. Also here with you 5 days a week. You can also find me writing about the Washington Commanders for Sports Illustrated's CommanderGameDay.com. And you can follow me on X at DHarrison82. I want to thank you for making Locked On Commanders your first listen or your first view. And a special thank you goes out to all of the everydayers who come through for every single episode. If you haven't already, please make sure you are subscribed for free on YouTube or wherever you're listening to today's episode. If it's your first time coming through, I want to thank you for finding us. Hopefully you enjoy the episode, you enjoy the show, and you come back for more real soon. Coming up today, we've got the Punisher, the actor, not the fictional character, come to life, courtesy of WUSA 9 and Chick Hernandez. We've also got receivers coach Bobby Ingram chatting with me for a couple of minutes, but we're going to get all started with some practice notes. All of that coming up on today's episode of Locked On Commanders, a proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Dan Quinn has decided to invent Burgundy and Gold, the Burgundy and Gold game, which is going to happen here in the middle of training camp. To me, it's a brilliant decision to break up some of the monotony and manufacture some much needed competitive juice, especially after what you saw, or what we all saw, I should say, Friday night against New England Patriots. Now, this wasn't invented because of what happened Friday night. Coach Quinn said this is something he thought about during the summer and kind of ideated and kind of noted like there's a big stretch here. The Washington Commanders played their first preseason game Friday night. They play their next preseason game Monday night at home against Cincinnati Bengals. That's a pretty long stretch to just have practices to do all those things. So we wanted to instill just a little bit more competitive ability in there for one reason or another. The Cincinnati Bengals not coming in town for a joint practice. My guessing is a little bit of a lodging situation. The Baltimore Ravens just got to drive down the highway about an hour and boom, you have a joint practice situation. The Cincinnati Bengals, a little bit further of a journey. So he created the Burgundy and Gold game in which the team is going to be split into two, but not just players, coaches, staff members, even like equipment managers, all that stuff. The support staff is going to be split into two, all that stuff. So you're literally going to pit team on team. And Dan Quinn basically said it's going to be like having another joint practice, except obviously you're practicing against each other. And yeah, we talked to safety Jeremy Reeves after practice and said, how's this going to be? He's very excited for it, but obviously he's not going to go out there looking to put the pain on his own teammates. Like he even said, he's like, I need that guy out on the field come Monday and come the regular season. So it's not going to be the full tempo of a joint practice, but certainly is going to be a better tempo than we see in a typical mid-training camp practice. So I think it's a great idea. I think it's going to be very fun. I know the team is looking forward to it, and the players are really looking forward to it because once practice is over, they get to shower, they get to get whatever final notes they have, and they have the rest of the day off. It's early. It's like 9 o'clock in the morning. They get to have the rest of the day off, go enjoy time with their family. They've got Wednesday off. It just works for everybody involved. So because of that practice coming up on Tuesday, Monday's practice was a jog through, very light workout, just kind of going over what they're going to do in the practice on Tuesday. And what Dan Quinn said is they're going to basically do a second quarter, fourth quarter simulation. It's going to be game simulation. So you're going to look at end of game drives, end of half drives. I pretty much predict that the Commanders offense is going to be down somewhere between 3 to 6 points, right? And that's going to be the scenario that they're facing because you obviously want to see them kind of go through it. And so it's going to be really interesting, a lot of fun. I'll have all the notes where you will be there for all of it. No fans are going to be in attendance. So unfortunately, you're just going to have to rely on, myself and other reporters, obviously, that that are covering the team. But we're going to do our best job, all of us always do, to bring you all the information. And you can come back here to Locked On Commanders to get some of that as well. So hopefully you come back for that. And the key purpose here, develop obviously the players, break up the monotony, like DQ said, like we cover here, but also it's developing leaders and coaching staff people. Like different people are going to be calling plays. It's not just going to be Cliff Kingsbury and Joe Witt Jr. They're going to be different play callers having different roles. People are going to be filling positions for the day that they don't normally fill. So it's going to be a really cool opportunity to just kind of elevate everybody for a day and get a taste of a little bit of a new part of their job, right? Breaks up the rhythm of camp in a great way, and it brings a little bit of competition to the forefront. So that was the first thing that Dan Quinn unveiled to us on Monday before practice. I thought it was a really cool idea, so I definitely wanted to highlight it because I support it, obviously. But there's some other things. Attending practice today on Monday, Jordan McGee, linebacker, was back out on the practice field. First time we've seen him in, I think, 4 or 5 practices. So that was very encouraging. The entire time, Dan Quinn has been saying like his injury that's been keeping him out was not serious, not long-term. And he acknowledged the same thing, but he was talking about Marcus Mariota, who missed practice again today and is likely going to miss practice on tomorrow's Burgundy versus Gold game. The longer a guy gets held out, obviously, the more and more concerned you grow. And at least here on Locked On Commanders, the longer Jordan McGee was out, the more practices he missed, the more concerned we got about his potential to come back this season and to do some of the things and capitalize on his potential, football IQ, all that stuff. So hopefully this is a sign that he's stepping in the right direction. Potentially will be able to play against the Cincinnati Bengals on Monday. Laremy Tunsil pulled up a little bit lame on Sunday's practice, holding his groin muscle area. Didn't come back to practice after that. Was getting stretched out, getting a little bit of treatment. Dan Quinn did say pretty much the standard message when it comes to Laremy Tunsil's situation, as it does with everybody's situation. They're going to take it as it comes. He's going to do a little bit here, a little bit there. Don't think he's probably going to be a full participant in tomorrow's practice. May not participate at all because it is padded. It is going to be contact. They may want to go ahead and just kind of give him the day. We'll see how that turns out. But he was out there for the walkthrough, the jog through. So being out there for the jog through kind of indicates that he might be out there for the padded practice on Tuesday, the Burgundy versus Gold game. So we'll see how that kind of goes as well. Brandon Coleman still not on the practice field. Marcus Mariota still not on the practice field, and neither was Javonte Jean-Baptiste. So those guys still missing. We'll have to continue to keep an eye out for them. Also not on the field, linebacker Dominique Hampton, defensive lineman Viliami Fehoko, and cornerback Alan George. But their situation, a little bit different. The Washington Commanders unveiling Monday morning. Those 3 players have been released. Dominique Hampton, probably the most notable, a 5th-round draft pick in the 2024 NFL draft, coming in as a safety out of Washington. They wanted to convert him to linebacker. Basically took all of 2024 to go ahead and train him over there. Are down in that position, trying to make him that new safety linebacker hybrid type of player they wanted. Brought him back this season, hoping that those lessons would kind of take and he would be able to kind of come to the forefront. Had some struggles in the preseason game against the New England Patriots, had the big face mask penalty on one of the big runs and all these things. And obviously the Washington Commanders essentially had seen enough and decided that it just wasn't working out. And honestly, unfortunately, it's something that we've kind of known on the sideline, I think, for a little while now. It just didn't seem like it was going to stick so much with Dom. But we wish him the best. Good young man, good head on his shoulders, certainly. So we wish him the best going forward. Viliami Fehoko, defensive lineman, also on his way out. He actually got injured, shaken up in that Friday Patriots game. But for right now, anyway, no word on this is an injury settlement. Just looks like a straight up release. So it seems he's a little bit healthy. Cornerback Alan George also on his way out. And Dan Quinn did mention, especially with a guy like Dominique Hampton, releasing them now, not holding on to them, kind of knowing, like when you know the fit's not there, just go ahead and make that decision. There's no need to kind of really hold on to it out of stubbornness or anything like that. Gives him an opportunity to potentially go out there, find another team to go to camp, see if he can't catch on with another team, continue his NFL journey somewhere else. To fill those 3 roster spots, Washington Commanders did sign 3 players. They brought in Isang Bassi, cornerback, another cornerback, Antonio Hamilton Sr., and linebacker Duke Riley. Duke Riley played for Dan Quinn in Atlanta during Dan Quinn's first 3 years. Came into Dan Quinn's 3rd year at Atlanta. And Duke Riley spent 2 seasons and then part of a 3rd season with the Falcons before eventually ending with the Phillies, or ending up with the Philadelphia Eagles, and then elsewhere before rejoining Dan Quinn here in Washington. And DQ, talking about roster evaluation, always said these things are very comprehensive. They look at the total body of work, not just 1 or 2 things and things like that. So those decisions were made. Those were kind of the new moving and shaking that the Commanders were doing on Monday. Individual performances drive all of the roster moves and practice updates that we get. And right now, there are a handful of players that are making themselves impossible to ignore, including rookie wide receiver Jaylen Lane. More on him and a lot of other players coming up next on today's episode of Locked On Commanders, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This episode is presented by Yahoo Fantasy. It's the best time of the year. NFL kickoff is almost here, and that means fantasy football season is back in full swing. And this year, Yahoo Fantasy is turning things up with a fantasy football experience like never before. This year, me and Locked On Commanders, we're playing on Yahoo Fantasy, and you should too, whether you're a first-timer or a veteran making your millionth league like I am. And I just recently, my league held our draft, my money league, and I am drafting 9th out of 12 spots. And I got to tell you, that 8th, 9th spot, that's like the money spot, man. That's the sweet spot. I love it. To celebrate 28 years of fantasy football greatness, Yahoo Fantasy is dropping 28 big new features over 28 days throughout August. And to kick it off, they just dropped the Yahoo Fantasy Guillotine League, a killer new way to play fantasy football on Yahoo, where the lowest scoring team gets eliminated each week until there's only one left standing. With the season right around the corner, now's the time to get your league together and give this new mode a try. If you're more into the classics, you can still play head-to-head private leagues or join a public league. Stay tuned for more killer announcements and start playing Yahoo Fantasy Football now at yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. It is becoming clear that the Commanders have found a legitimate day 3 gem in Jaylen Lane, who's just one of several young players, several new players, I should say, legitimately flashing on this team during training camp. To talk more about Jaylen Lane, here is wide receivers coach Bobby Ingram.
So, Coach, just wanted to ask you, just getting a chance to break down the film for Friday night, just your overall thoughts on the receiver room, specifically Jaylen Lane.
Yeah, I thought the guys came out and played hard. As a coach, you're always looking at things you can do better. Thought we could start a little faster and finish some of the contested catches, but I thought we blocked. Guys got after it in the run game as a group. Jaylen, and specifically, just played fast, played quick. A guy who's just continues to pick up the nuances and learn the offense, and really pleased with where he is and just looking to keep help him grow.
And DQ said today that he thinks that he might be a little bit ahead of schedule where he expected him to be as far as comfortability in the offense. Do you agree with that sentiment?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great assessment because he's a guy that's a quick learner. And sometimes they don't ask you to do a lot of these things in college, so it may not show up on tape. But he's a guy who listens and pays attention to the detail, and he's shown a lot of quickness and burst, and he's able to carry things that you talk about either in the individual drill or the classroom to the field really quickly.
And since you've gotten to have your hands on him, get some teaching done with him in the NFL, where have you seen his game grow the most so far?
That's a great question. I think we're still in that process, but I think just like playbook knowledge, that's something that jumps out. He has a really good grasp of the game, so his football IQ pops at you.
And what do you want to see him do in these final couple weeks of training camp and preseason?
Yeah, continue to work hard, continue to grasp the details of the offense, continue to work on the fundamentals of getting in and out of breaks and just playing fast.
Coach Ingram's main takeaway that Jaylen Lane's high football IQ allows him to play fast and apply coaching instantly is a really good one. We know that Dan Quinn agrees during his pre-practice press conference. I actually asked Dan Quinn about Jaylen Lane specifically and his performance coming out of Friday night, and he said that he thinks that Jaylen is ahead of schedule as far as where they expect him to be and his comfortability within the offense. Knew that they were bringing a guy who could be a dynamic punt returner. You guys remember everydayers when he was drafted, that's something that we really kind of focused in on and highlighted with his punt return ability, and then the potential for the future, especially with a guy like Deebo Samuel in kind of somewhat similar type of games, not similar body styles and certainly different play styles, but as far as how they can be utilized in the offense, some similarities between the two and their skill sets. So to see that Jaylen Lane has kind of accelerated the way that he has, and to hear his coaches, both Dan Quinn and Bobby Ingram, talk about him being ahead of schedule and developing at a faster rate than they might have anticipated, I think it really bodes well for the rookie and for his future. And I know we've got more than a few VodTech fans, VodTech alum that are listeners and watchers of Locked On Commanders. So I know there are a good amount of you who are very, very happy to see what Jaylen has been doing so far and also hear that he is doing so well. Another player that is doing well, he's not a rookie, but he's a new player to the team, veteran defensive back, cornerback Jonathan Jones. Dan Quinn had some really good comments to say about the veteran corner who's come in, calling him a quote-unquote true pros pro in Monday's press conference. Also talked about how he's got his, quote, entire world squared away, end quote, which really helps him kind of just focus on the things that he really needs to focus on. And that comment, honestly, took me back to my days covering the Tampa Bay Buccaneers when wide receiver Chris Godwin was drafted in the 3rd round out of Penn State. And something that immediately blew the Buccaneers away was the fact that this dude showed up and they're like, all right, dude, let's help you get a car. Let's help you get an apartment. Let's help you get everything that you need. He's like, I already got all that stuff. I'm just here for my playbook and start getting to work. And they just immediately knew, they're like, man, we've got a guy that is just mature beyond his years. Now, Jonathan Jones has some of the years, right? He's a veteran. He's been around for a minute, but the impression to make on a coach that you just kind of have your control of your world around you so you can focus on what you need to focus on shouldn't go understated. Also highlighted Jonathan Jones' leadership, noting that he's always willing to ask questions, but also share information with other younger, lesser experienced players. And that is versatility. We know he can play outside. That's where he's been playing for the Washington Commanders this training camp, but he can also play inside in the slot. If you need him to, you can play that safety position as well if you need him to, and they can play what the Washington Commanders call a star. Everybody's a little bit different, and they're all different kind of roles. Like Buffalo nickel is different than a star, and all this other stuff. But they're kind of that similar, safety hybrid linebacker type of player that tries to do multiple things. And DQ said the staff particularly likes his quote patience to play the ball down the field. End quote. Sticking in the defensive backs room, but going a little bit less experience, but a little bit more maybe promise. Trey Amos getting a little bit more love in the press conference from Dan Quinn on Monday. Really, DQ praised Trey's ability to play at the line of scrimmage and said that he can, quote, really feel his length, end quote. And that's something that, again, everydayers, if you've been here to hear all of our practice notes, literally just yesterday's episode, we highlighted Trey Amos's length in a pass that he broke up in defense. And just you love seeing that ability to not just have the physical, intangibles or characteristics, whatever you want to call it, of being a prototypical type of player, but knowing how to use them, right? Like I can put a baseball bat in someone's hand, but if you can't hit a curve, you're never going to make it off the home plate or out of the batter's box, I should say. So Trey Amos is not enough to just have long arms, not enough to just have athleticism. You also have to know how to employ it. That's where the football IQ comes from, and that's where Trey has really excelled. I pointed out a pass on Sunday where he defended it without committing a foul on a play where a lot of people do commit a foul. And I think the DQ is talking about the same play that we actually talked about as well. So if he is, then obviously we're seeing things through the same lens as DQ, saying, quote, he played through the hands at the last moment, end quote. That's exactly how you want to play passes like that. And of course, Trey, something we saw on tape, something we knew coming into the draft, and something that's only been confirmed since, loves to play man-to-man aggressive style of football. A second-year player, not in the defensive backs room, but a guy that has taken a step forward. He took a step forward on Friday night against the New England Patriots. Johnny Newton, he's been getting a lot of love. And, look, I'm not going to say we're trendsetters out here at Locked On Commanders, but you might have noticed on the post-game episode, I was the only one interviewing Johnny Newton. Not saying that nobody else would have or wanted to, but, facts are facts. And now Johnny Newton getting a lot of love from Dan Quinn. That's just me patting myself on the back a little bit. Don't mind me. Talking about the second-year player, said Newton has been really quick off the line of scrimmage, always has been. They always knew that about him. But now, quote, he's adding the hand use and the skill that goes with that, end quote. DQ really harping in on there's a difference between talent and there's a difference between knowledge and skill work, and having the two kind of marry each other is really, really important. Pointed out Mikey Sainristil for being able to put those two things together as a rookie last year. Johnny Newton looks to be putting those things together this year and is going to really help him take off as a NFL sophomore. So Johnny Newton getting some love, Trey Amos and others getting a love. The excitement over individual player development isn't just happening inside the building. It is spilling over to, yes, the media. Like we're having fun with all this individual development, but also the fan base, a palpable buzz that hasn't been felt in this fan base for years, continuing to grow, including to Hollywood, or I guess Morocco, really, if you want to get technical about it. That's coming up next on today's episode of Locked On Commanders, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode of Locked On Commanders brought to you in part by FanDuel. August 26th is officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans like me who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. I love me some bold predictions. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP or ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before week one even kicks off, this is your moment. I'm taking a flyer on Jayden Daniels to win the MVP, and I think the Washington Commanders certainly have a chance to win the Super Bowl. So I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. Do you think rookie Jaylen Lane is developing faster than expected, could threaten for Offensive Rookie of the Year? I don't know if I'd go there yet with you, but I would appreciate the boldness. I am going to be putting something down on Trey Amos winning Defensive Rookie of the Year, though. I will tell you that. So those are the kind of hunches that you can play on FanDuel Futures Day with me. Visit the FanDuel app today. Start planning your futures bets now, because Future Days is one day and one day only on FanDuel. Play your game. There is a new energy around this team that has been building since Josh Harris took over the team. And then just incrementally, Adam Peters, Dan Quinn, Jayden Daniels, winning, playoff appearances, so on and so forth. It's still growing from all the fans, including diehard fans like actor Jon Bernthal, who you probably know best from the television show The Punisher, whose passionate take on the team might give you chills. Here is Jon Bernthal with WSA 9's Chick Hernandez.
Zach Ertz just told us it's kind of ironic. He's on a plane and he's looking at your movie.
Oh, boy.
And then here you are out here with him today. Just give me the sense of the conversations with these guys. So
Look, I'm here with my son. We're on our way to football practice right here. And just like I was talking to Jayden, I'm born and raised in this town. I'm sure like how you feel, how we all feel. the culture is so good. It's so right. It feels so good, to be a Commanders fan, and it feels like it was back in the day, 83, 84, 87, 92. And these guys are not just incredible athletes, and this team isn't just so beautiful. For me as a father, just to see the quality of men these guys are and the role models that they can be to these kids. My son's a quarterback, and for Jayden to take the time and say hello to him, say him, throw the ball with him on the field, it's just incredible. And you see them, they're all out here with all these fans, and it's truly a wonderful thing to be a Commanders fan, and this team and this culture. It's the absolute truth. I'm just so excited for this team, and I believe in them with all my heart.
You were fortunate to see the easiest practice they've had throughout camp. Yeah. But just like you and your craft, they've got to work at it. What do you see when you're watching these guys work out?
Oh man, it's just it's focus, and it's zoning in. I mean, there's really no such thing as easy. Practice is practice, but it's all the work they're doing all day long. And I think immediately that's the sort of points of connection that we're all talking about. And I think you're either a go-getter or you're not, and you can feel that this team's just a bunch of go-getters. Coach Quinn's a go-getter, and I think we're in real good shape, and moving forward.
Last question. In your circle, the last couple of decades in your circle, I'm sure that your counterparts said, "You're a Washington fan?" And now you get a chance to walk
all over this world making movies, Morocco, Ireland, Greece, all over North Africa, wherever it is. And no matter what time of day, I'm finding a way to watch those games. And over the years, it has been hard, but right now, it's payback time. It's payback time. And I was on a set last year with that Hail Mary pass, and went running through the streets of Morocco, grabbing people. The truth is the truth. You can't mess with this team, and everything's right. Everything's right with this team.
Closer to home, a lot of momentum about RFK Stadium.
Yeah, I would love it. Oh man, I mean, we were talking about that the other day at my kids' practice. Look, that was Mecca, and a wonderful place to come through this beautiful city. People from all over, from Maryland, from Virginia, to come to that stadium and come through the city, and all those people getting together, it rocking up and down, that feeling. Again, culturally, this just feels great. It just feels great. This team, everybody in the front office, all the players, unbelievable role models. It just feels great, and that's the place that we need to be.
Bernthal's excitement is palpable, declaring it's payback time for long-suffering fans, and that this new culture, quote-unquote, just feels great. Not on camera. Got a little bit of time to chop it up with John, like a couple of minutes, just kind of introduce myself, say, hey, do all those things. He did say that he and I are going to be best friends now, so, take that to the bank for what you want. But John's a really nice guy. I thoroughly enjoy his work. Hopefully you guys enjoy his work as well. And, it was pretty cool for me to be able to tell my son that I got to meet the Punisher. And, for a moment, he thinks his dad is cool. And, that's the second time I pat myself on the back this episode. So we're going to finish this. We're going to get out of here. That's today's episode. Next time on Locked On Commanders, we're going to talk about a really fun, padded scrimmage practice for the Washington Commanders. I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to deliver all the news, notes, and highlights to you. In the meantime, if you got questions or comments, all you gotta do is text me directly by becoming a Locked On Commanders insider at joinsubtext.com/LockedOnCommanders. For your second listen, check out the Locked On Bets podcast. Betting experts Lee Sterling and Kevin Rogers have daily Major League Baseball locks and can't miss football futures. So find Locked On Bets on YouTube or wherever you're listening to today's episode. To the everydayers out there, I see you every day. I appreciate you every day. But I want to give you a special thank you today. Until next time, everybody out there, stay safe, be kind to one another. We'll talk again real soon right here on Locked On Commanders, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.